I know it's hard to believe that you might be able to get sober in 24 hours, but it absolutely is possible, even if you don't get sober in those first 24 hours. And I know that's a very confusing statement, it's very counterintuitive, but if you bear with me, I'm going to share a bit of my story about how I got sober in 24 hours. But ultimately, what led up to that day and that choice that allowed me to step away from alcohol once and for all. Because I want to offer you some hope and clarity that even in the throes of addiction, you can still get sober while not even actually getting sober. Welcome back to the Sober Web, my friend. I'm Clark. And today, yes, I'm going to talk about how I got sober in 24 hours, but I realized this was kind of a very interesting and maybe even important topic to talk about because I made a 30-second short on how I got sober, and although it had a lot of great engagement, lots of thumbs up, some of the comments stood out to me as not being fair about addiction in general or recovery or even getting sober in general. And I totally respect that and I recognize that. And so I wanted to make this longer video because, well, it's a great topic to talk about. But first and foremost, I just want everyone to know that obviously I recognize that addiction is hard, recovery is hard, getting sober is not as simple as me saying I got sober in 24 hours. By no means am I suggesting that someone just quit and put their life on the line in order to be sober or stay sober, because if you are physically dependent, that obviously takes a much different course of action and recovery. But now let's get into how I got sober, but I actually want to first talk about what is getting sober, because like everything else in life, there are varying degrees of sobriety, of getting sober. For some people that means literally sobering up. Perhaps that means detox. Perhaps that means rehab. Perhaps getting off alcohol or drugs means you have to seek out a professional or a doctor who can help prescribe some medication or just a process to get off of that substance or that liquid. Could getting sober simply be a decision to never drink alcohol ever again? Or is it simply abstaining from a drug or alcohol, yet you still kind of feel like you're always going to worry about it or wonder if you might get another drink or another fix. So it's always kind of even on your mind, even though you're technically sober. And I'm actually curious to know, what is getting sober to you? For you and your story, in the comments below, let me know, what does your sobriety look like? What do you feel the next step is? And just bear with me a little bit longer, because at the end of this video, I want to share with you what I believe the true, hopefully powerful message is to you, no matter where you're at on your journey, no matter what your relationship with alcohol or a drug might be. Because I'm sure somewhere inside of you, there is a desire to quit, and there is a desire to get sober. And the reason that I was able to get sober in 24 hours on October 1st, 2017 is because I simply made a choice that day that I would never drink alcohol ever again. But that statement alone, even my short, it minimizes and it terribly simplifies my journey leading up to that day. That entire year of 2017 was a really, really hard year. The first time I ever said, "Hi, my name's Clark, I'm an alcoholic," was Father's Day of 2017, which is honestly ironic because the ultimate reason that I got sober and that I stay sober and that I do all the work that I do is because of my son. So it was very humbling and it was very frightening to have to go to an AA meeting and think that that was the rest of my life on Father's Day, where I'm supposed to celebrate who I am, and I'm probably at the lowest point of my entire life. But looking back now, it actually wasn't the lowest point of my life, because after that, it became a battle of wills. My ego wanted me to keep drinking, but there was part of me, the new version of Clark, that knew I couldn't keep drinking. And 2017 became kind of a mix of running away from my fears and my emotions and thinking that I could control alcohol, until finally my final relapse, which started overseas in Iceland and then continued when I got home back to the States. And I was left feeling completely bottomed out. I mean, it was my rock bottom. I had come to a point where I was self-sabotaging so much, I might have slept on the streets of Reykjavik if a friend and a colleague hadn't put me in my hotel room. When I got home, I was in such a grief-stricken, fear-stricken state of mind that I could just not get out of the rut and the cycle of totally binge drinking because I just wanted everything to end. So when I woke up on October 1st, 2017, probably still drunk, probably still very, very hungover, I knew one of two things. I would either keep drinking alcohol and die, or I would give up alcohol and live. And for me, it was as simple as that. And that was me stepping into sobriety, which is why I can say that I got sober in 24 hours, even though obviously, as you now hopefully understand, there's a lot more to it than that. And now, out of respect for you and your story, I know that my story and how I approached quitting alcohol and getting sober doesn't work for everyone. I wish it did, but it's just not the reality. Your journey is different. Your relationship with alcohol is different. Your relationship with a drug, whatever the addiction is, it's different than mine. Your journey leading up to your addiction is different than mine. Therefore, your version of getting sober and your sobriety journey will be different than mine. But there is one thing that I think that we all have in common if we're willing to think about it. And I already said it. Deep down inside of you, there has to be a desire to quit. There has to be some part of you that knows that you have a choice that you can make about getting sober for good. And even if you don't get sober on that first day, or maybe it's a week later, or a month later, or a year later, I do believe that that small choice, that small decision, that very, very small desire, it's like a very, very tiny seed of hope that allows you to begin to maybe think about possibilities, about what's the next step for me in order to get sober. That's the decision that I'm talking about. And with those very small conscious decisions, maybe they're even subconscious, that's when life can start bringing you the solutions that you're looking for, even if you don't know that you're looking for them. Making those choices that you want to quit, that you're tired of living this way, might allow you to be a bit more vulnerable with someone who's been through what you're going through, and they might be able to suggest the next step for you. If you're physically dependent, it's going to mean that you have to ask for help because you deserve help. Maybe it's a detox center, maybe it's a rehab center, and that's okay. That's your next step in getting sober for good. If you're not physically dependent, your desire or your wish to get sober, to quit for good, might take you to AA. It might push you or give you the courage to seek out a professional who can help you work through the emotional side of things. 3 years before I even got sober, I actually sought out a grief counselor because my mom died of pancreatic cancer and I became a dad at the same time. And I was devastated. And between those two things, that life and death, I was messed up. And my drinking and my alcoholism took on a totally different shape and form over the first 3 years of my son's life that led to that final relapse in Iceland. But by doing work around the grief and my emotional attachments to alcohol and my addiction to using it to numb out and turn my brain off, it eventually allowed me to make that conscious decision on October 1st of 2017 to never drink alcohol ever again, and to know for certain that I never would drink alcohol ever again. So that's all I'm trying to say, my friends. My ultimate goal is to hopefully offer just some hope and clarity to you in your journey, regardless of where you're at in that journey. Because I don't believe that everyone is cursed. I don't believe that we are addicts or alcoholics or lost causes for the rest of our life. I don't believe anyone obviously wants to be addicted to something that makes them feel out of control. We don't want to feel weak. We don't want to feel like we don't have a say in our life and what we do and how we deal with life. And even though maybe you don't get sober in the first 24 hours of your sobriety, like we've already talked about, sobriety is so much more than that. And that's why I think getting sober just starts with a very small conscious decision. That's time for me to live my life in a different way. So there you have it, my friend. Hit the like button if this spoke to you. Don't forget to leave your comments about what getting sober is to you, or maybe what the next step in your sober journey might be. And I really hope that you'll share this with someone that maybe needs to hear it. And of course, I really hope that you'll consider subscribing to my channel so that I can be part of your sober journey and make videos specifically to support you and your journey. And then once you've hit the subscribe button, please hit the bell so that you're notified when I release a video every single week. As always, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being part of the Sober Web community. Until I see you again, I hope that you check out that video right there. But much love and much life, my friend. I'm Clark with the Sober Web, and I'll talk to you really soon.